welcome back to the Uncool show. It's been a little bit of a break after the holidays. I'm Dylan,
I'm Nathan.
and today we are going to be talking about Stand By Me. But before we do that, Rob Reiner was the director of Stand By Me. Clearly, his name has been in the news worldwide since the tragedy before Christmas involving him and his wife and his son and the rest of his family. Um, Rob Reiner was a really, really important director to a lot of people. Really important works that Nathan and I really connect with, and that American cinema really connected with. Film goers of all ages had a special relationship to Rob, and you know everything that happened is clearly very tragic, and both Nathan and I are heartbroken and really been feeling and praying for that family. I know thoughts and prayers don't always mean a lot to people, and that's a buzzword, but I really have been praying for that family. But with that tragedy, it's been a good opportunity to really praise Rob. So why don't you talk a little bit about your relationship with Reiner and some of the works that he did before we start talking about Stand By Me?
Yeah, it was a huge loss. You broke the news to me that night. I did not see. I was on social media. I might be watching a movie or watching a sports game or something. But you broke the news that he died, and then unfortunately the other information was revealed later. But obviously that hit me hard. This is a person that is an important director to me, and I think just his overall legacy as a filmmaker is impressive. He's known for like his magical 80s transitioning into 90s run, where you get I should just have a list of it, but this is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, Misery, and that's all. And then there's a movie called The Surest Thing with John Cusack, one of his first leading roles. I haven't seen.
I haven't seen
I'm
that
gonna
one
have
either.
to watch it though.
Yeah.
And I want to catch up on a lot of other movies of his that I haven't gotten a chance to check out
Like
yet.
past like the 2000s.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And kind of look at those works. But anyway, yeah, it really did hit me hard. He is someone that revolutionized, genres like the mockumentary with This Is Spinal Tap. I actually just this last year rewatched it and loved it once again. And I actually watched the sequel that came out last year, and not as good, but you can tell how much fun he's having
Yep.
playing with his actors and just having, I think he also really enjoyed being a performer. And
Yep.
just this last year, he was in the Bear season
Yeah,
4.
he was a great addition to the Bear. I was really happy when he popped up.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys who's like, he just feels like one of those like entertainment grandfathers, you know, where you see him in a role, you're like, oh, it's this is going to be warm, and it's going to make you feel good. Other than like his Wolf of Wall Street role, it's not that's not a warm role, but he's really good in Wolf of Wall Street.
He's a terrific actor.
But no, he was a great actor as well as a director, and he was a real actor's director.
Yeah.
Actors really respect him, and he clearly had a way not just with adults but with children, and knew how to talk to anybody, knew how to make anybody feel important and special, and really knew how to create environments and create energies on set that it doesn't seem like a lot of directors do. There's always like that. A lot of sets seem to have like that fear-based environment. It doesn't seem like he ever did that. The way that people have been talking about him since his passing, the way people talked about him even before he passed, he was very respected and brought a certain levity to the craft. And it's tragic when anyone dies, especially when they've given so much. It's definitely worse, with how it happened, and nobody deserves that. But again, it's given myself and given Nathan an opportunity to focus on the good and focus on the legacy that he's left behind, which is a lot of really cool, really important, seminal work that has influenced film, ever since he broke through with Spinal Tap. And like you said, you named a bunch of his movies, and just so many different genres, so much touch,
Hmm.
across so many different types of films, and uh, there was just something magical about him
Hmm.
and about the the stories he chose to tell and the way that he chose to tell them. I mean, just having watched Stand by Me with you, that's a whole movie built on feeling
Hmm.
and tone and emotion, and more so than a lot of his other movies, I would say. And he was really good at capturing a certain moment in life
Yep.
or a certain feeling, more so than I think a lot of directors have kind of been like reaching for like that standard of feeling that he
He
would brought.
he's like the ultimate commercial director who had a really clever look and feel for sincerity, and he just all of his movies envelop that. And I was after rewatching Stand by Me, I'm like, all of his movies from that run, you can look at it if it's like too, I don't know, too simple of structures in his movies, but they're always like a good versus evil dynamic, and he's always rooting for the good in people. He always wants to see the good in people, and I think that probably just spoke to him as a human being, as well as a director. Like you said, as an actor, as director, he maintained that level of sincerity on set, working with his actors, working on the set, and I think everything he touched turned to gold for a period there, and
Yeah,
it's so impressive to watch and remember. And he has a filmography, Dylan, that is gonna live on for a long, long, long time.
yep,
Obviously, as we get older and generations start coming forward, we're gonna lose touch of some of the movies that he made, some of the more lesser obscure movies. But I mean, Princess Bride, this is Spinal Tap, A Few Good Men, When Harry Met Sally. That's four. That's like probably his Mount Rushmore, I would say.
I think
And
Stand
Stand
by
by
Me
Me is
is.
up there too. If we have five, and there's a couple of other really good movies that he made. It's just it really is heartbreaking.
It
This
is.
this one did hit me pretty hard. I don't remember the last time I was hit hard by something like this, but
Yeah,
um, he just seemed like a really good person.
yeah, he did. This will be the last thing, before we kind of segue, but it seems like his willingness to always search for the good in people was also why his son was living with them, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, looking for the good in people is a beautiful trait until you're not looking out for yourself at all, and you're not. I don't know. With the mental health angle of that whole tragedy, just made me think of things in our family and outside of our family, and it's just looking out for everybody is good until it isn't. You gotta have a balance with that, and I don't know. It's really tragic, and at the end of the day, you know, rest in peace, and rest in peace to don't knock over my water, please, and to Rob's wife as well, and
Mm-hmm.
our you know continued support and thoughts will be with the children. It's just yeah, rest in peace, and thank you for everything that you did. It was a like you said that run is almost unparalleled. Oh, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
In terms of matching like inherent quality to commercial filmmaking, you know, it really is unparalleled. Yeah, they had that gold standard run was really started by I mean in '84 by Spinal Tap, but really transitioning into our movie we're talking about today, Stand by Me in '86. That kind of really like speed runs the rest of the '80s going into the '90s for him.
Was this his second,
I think it was his third after The
third?
Sure Thing.
Okay.
The Sure Thing is in the middle of
Yep.
Spinal Tap
Okay.
and Stand by Me.
For still being very young in his career, and I kind of now I really do want to see that film,
Me too.
uh, to really see where that initial jump from mockumentary to
I think it's like a light
feature.
like comedy,
Okay.
like a teenage comedy with Cusack,
Yeah.
who obviously he liked so much he cast him in a small
In
role in
this
Stand
role
by Me.
too. Yep. This movie is really hinging on not just Reiner's direction and the screenplay based on the Stephen King novella, but uh, it really hinges on these child actors, River Phoenix, Will Wheaton, Jerry O'Connell, and Corey Feldman, who each one of them feels very real and very lived in. Feels like a very real child. They each bring different flavors and different insecurities and different backstories, different family relations. Again, I think it's a real testimony to Reiner and his direction and just getting this type of material out of these kids. I think these are some of, if not the best child acting performances of that era, if not ever. You know, there's some really interesting moments in this film, usually between Will Wheaton and River Phoenix, that are really powerful. And, you know, at least when I saw this movie, I had never seen child actors be able to do this. And that's mainly a testimony to, the late River Phoenix, but also Reiner's touch, you know. They all talk about how just great he was on the set of that film and how he brought out the best in them and really like made them feel confident and made them feel like they were worthwhile members of this team. And it really shows. I think all these kids are out like they feel confident. They seem like they're confidently acting, which is rare.
I mean, they have to carry the narrative bulk of the film. And a lot of these kids, I mean, some of these kids, besides like Feldman and did River act before this? I don't know. Did Will Wheaton act before this? Maybe a little bit. I know. I don't think Jerry O'Connell did money. Whatever. Nothing high profile like this. You know, obviously the year before Feldman does something like The Goonies. I'm sure that did a good job training him for transitioning into a more adult role, R-rated.
Yeah.
And it really is impressive watching each performer have their own performance style and their own little character, and you can see, you could like visualize Robert Reiner behind the scenes talking to them and getting the best out of them and making them feel like they can also make their own choices as an actor. Yep. I mean, especially in River Phoenix, you know, he's an overwhelming talent for his age.
It's unbelievable how he's like 10, 15 years ahead of the other kids in terms of his, like, not just ability, but like, well, you know, what he experienced, you know, you can tell that not just as a character, but as an actor, River Phoenix just understood things in a different way and understood life in a different way than these kids that he was acting with had, because he had experienced more at that point. And that really informs his performance. There's a couple moments in this film with River where it's just like, whoa, it really takes your breath away.
We were sitting in silence during the emotional breakdown he has, talking about him stealing the milk money with Gordy's character. And he breaks down, and you really do feel the pain in that performance. And not to denigrate Will Wheaton's performance, but later on when Will Wheaton is tasked with crying and being emotional, it feels a little different. And not to say that performance is bad either, because like you said, these performances, like you said, I think the 80s are like the pinnacle of kid performances. You know, you get a lot of great stuff in Goonies and E.T. and etc. You get a lot of great performances. I know they go into everything, but River Phoenix's performance really, it stands a test of time, and it really does sit on top of the rest. I mean, I was doing the math. He was born in 70. He was 15 when he made this. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, he only had so many more movies he made after this.
He was only alive for 8 more years.
Right. And this is another performance and movie, like I said earlier, that will live on. And I'm really happy that his legacy will live on in that way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's amazing that his legacy in this movie could be tied to Reiner's amazing run. Yeah. And that's a great, like, symbiotic legacy that will go forward.
Would have been nice to see those two stay in each other's lives and not just work more together, but, you know, look out. You know, River needed somebody looking out for him. It doesn't seem like he really had that after a certain point in his life. But yeah, again, he's head and shoulders above the other kids in this, but they don't. At the same time, he doesn't feel like he's overacting or they're underacting. It still feels very natural, and it still feels like the other kids are.
They're all equals in their own way.
In their own way, yeah. Their friendships. You know, watching it this time with you, I had kind of forgotten how there are like 2 little groups.
Yeah.
There's I don't remember their characters already. Chris and
Chris and Gordy are
Gordon.
together.
Gordon.
And then Vern and Teddy. Vern and Teddy.
Yep.
So Corey Feldman and Jerry O'Connell are one little group, and then River Phoenix and Will Wheaton are on their own.
Yep. The little dichotomy of that one scene where like the one group is asking about if Mighty Mouse could fight Superman, and then it flashes back, but the camera goes back to
River Phoenix having a genuine, honest conversation about how he needs to move forward without his friends, like his little friends right now, because he's gonna go on to do bigger and better things.
And how like he tells him like we're all holding you back. It's a very like adult conversation.
Like, you're gonna be a writer one day. Like God gave you this gift, you have to use it.
Yeah, that's another one of those scenes where like no, like the other kids in that movie couldn't have made that work. That River was just a very unique talent, and much like it's a shame that Rob isn't here. It's a shame that River, his career went the way it did, and he still made a lot of cool stuff. And there's still a couple of movies of his that I need to see, but I think he's a very just naturally gifted kid who just wasn't able to get out of his own way, and
that'd be the biggest what if.
Yeah,
in Hollywood, like one of the biggest what ifs in Hollywood history.
Yep. But if you haven't seen Running on Empty, just to give a quick little like River Phoenix, Running on Empty is really good. He's good in Sneakers. I mean, he's great in this. If you haven't seen it,
he's really good in the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade
as the young Indiana Jones.
He's amazing in that sequence.
That could have been a cool what if too,
My Own Private Idaho.
My Own Private Idaho. It's not my favorite movie, but have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't. That's on my list.
But he's really good in that. He was just such a special actor, and rest in peace, River. He's one of my like favorite what ifs for sure. And every time I see him in something, I really connect with him, and I think he was just a talent taken too soon. Penny, do you agree? What are you doing?
Very empathetic performer.
Yeah.
You just you can't help but feel sorry for the guy or want to root for him.
Yeah, for sure.
You just breathed that into his performances.
Yep. I think I don't even know if that was something he was in charge of, or, just like...
It feels like it's so natural to him.
It's just like, this is what my life was, and I'm bringing it to the forefront.
He used his past to inform all of his performances.
Yep.
And even if it's like a light... we forget to mention I Love You to Death. He's really good in I Love You to Death.
I Love You to Death.
He's really good in these comedic roles, these thrillers.
He could do a little bit of everything.
These dramas. He can do a little bit of everything. He was a true shining star when he was acting, And it is sad that he never got to skyrocket into this massive... Well, we talked before the movie. We are assuming that he would have some sort of Leo DiCaprio career.
I mean,
arc.
if he had, stayed clear or at least tapered off a little bit of the things he was doing, I definitely think he would have had that. But I mean, he was supposed to be Jack in Titanic until he passed away.
He would have been perfect as Jack. Even though I love Leo, he would have been a good Jack.
He was Cameron's plan. He was always River Phoenix, River Phoenix, River Phoenix. So that would have been a very interesting what if too. Just have that huge movie with... I mean, does Leo even become the star? I think he still does, but it might...
It's different.
It's different. You never know. But yeah, that's our little River Phoenix segue. I love that guy. He was such a talent, and it's very sad, how his life ended. But I think Jerry O'Connell needs a little bit of love in this. He is one of the most sweet, sympathetic kids you ever want to root for in a movie. The moment you see Vern pop up through the treehouse, you're like, oh, you know who he is, and you know that he's kind of not the loser of the group, but he's the butt of the joke of the group.
This is I'm gonna call it the chunk archetype from Goonies. Every
Goonies.
little friend group in the '80s movies, there's one kid that they made fun of, always teased.
A little chunky, a little.
But he's equally important in the group. He serves an important function. He's the goofball.
Yep.
He's the one that everyone gets to make fun of. But obviously he is sensitive, and he does you do feel bad for him at times. Okay, guys, take it easy on him. I know he's a little dim, and he's kind of asking for it, but
he is.
He is really.
But he's great
I noticed. Yeah, he is really sweet, and it's really interesting with him. I have not seen much of Jerry O'Connell's career. I will just be
No.
completely
Kangaroo
honest.
Jack, Scream 2.
That is literally the two that came right to mind.
The,
And that's like all the context I have for him
Yeah.
post
he seems like a
Stand
cool
By
dude.
Me. He seems like the most like lovable
Down to
dude in
earth.
real life.
Yeah.
Really eccentric, kind of weird, but everyone seems to love the guy. Just to bring it back to now, I was telling Dylan, asking him if he saw this clip. Jerry O'Connell went on the news and talked about Rob Reiner, his effect in his life, and Jerry O'Connell was getting emotional talking about how back in the day after this movie came out, Rob came to LA and wanted to get lunch with little Jerry, when he was still in his teens, and Jerry was like, I can't believe he did that for me. Like, he really, like, I was a kid and he made me feel like I was the
Like
most
a
important
peer.
guy in the room. Yeah, like a peer. And I think that sweetness really does show in Vern. He's kind of this lovable, I don't want to say
Very
lovable
sweet.
idiot. He's like
Very
really
sweet kid.
very sweet.
Yeah.
And he's put in these extreme moments of, when the train is coming down the tracks and he's like tasked with being like, I have to emotionally
run for my life,
react and emote, and he's crying, and Will Wheaton's right behind him pushing him, and that's one of the more intense moments of the movie. And I don't know, he's the one he's the character who kind of is the fulcrum to the rest of the story. He brings the news of the dead body from his older brother and his buddy that he heard while digging for his jar of pennies under their house. And it is funny that the dimwit gets the information that pushes the rest of the story forward, and makes all of these characters really look inside themselves, and they go through their own personal journeys of where they're going for the rest of their lives, and how they're dealing with grief or feeling misunderstood,
or whatever's happening in their family. I was gonna say, Vern is the only kid you don't hear anything about his family life. You kind of assume that his life at home is very good. That his parents
you get that
are there,
impression,
and that they love him. And the other boys don't have that as much.
No.
A couple, and maybe that's why they
kind of resent him a little bit.
And there's a little bit of that too. He's the only boy you don't hear much about his backstory or about anything other than the jar, the penny, the penny thing. But yeah, like you said, he's kind of like other than River, his character is like the heart of the group.
Definitely the most
he's not
heartfelt.
River is like the movie says it multiple times. He's the leader of the group, and he's kind of driving the foursome. But I don't think that foursome exists if you don't have Vern as like their heart, at least in this period of time in their life.
He also serves an important function just for the movie. He's great comedic relief.
Yep.
They give him a lot of good laugh lines, and Reiner has a deep background in comedy, and so did his dad, Carl Reiner, another good comedic director, and
a legend.
Huge legacy behind him too. Like you said, a legend. And there's a really good edits in this movie with the laugh lines and with Vern, and how the other guys just like, oh, shut up, or like leave it alone, or whatever they're gonna say to him. All these reactions, and he does serve an important function as like this movie being an entertainment.
Yes.
He is a very entertaining character.
He's a very like chaotic good character. You never really know what Vern's gonna do, but he's a good little dude. And then on the flip side of him is like the chaotic, not evil, but chaotic,
dark Teddy.
There's some issues with Corey Feldman's Teddy, victim of abuse at home. His dad is a Vietnam veteran who drinks and beats him, and the film tells and shows you that his father has melted his ear.
He burned his ear on the stove, and you can see the makeup department did a good job making it look like that.
Yeah, like his earlobe is melted to his he's a victim of abuse. He's not dealing with it well, and the movie is like very clear on that, which is very interesting, especially at that time. That's a very you didn't see a whole lot of that in like mainstream movies. Like, this kid is going through it, and you know that right away.
And his dad is the laughing stock of the community. Yes. And he's like the loony. That's what the junkyard guy calls him his dad. Multiple times to get a rise out of Teddy, to make him annoyed. And Teddy kind of loses it, and he gets emotional, and he it's like this weird dichotomy of wanting to defend your dad, but also acknowledging that he's abusive and
it's like
bad for
syndrome.
You. Right. And he's one of the darker characters in the movie, even
Probably
though
the darkest.
He's also somewhat of a comedic relief. because the two comedic relief characters are a little group, like with a Vern and
And Teddy.
Teddy. And just looking at Corey Feldman really quick, his career also took a crazy turn,
very
leading
tragic.
into the 90s, 2000s, and onward. But man, his 80s was also just absolutely insane from our standpoints. You know,
Yeah.
we are big fans of the Goonies, and I am majorly partial to the Burbs.
And
I
he's
think
great
he's
in the Burbs.
fantastic in the Burbs. He's really good in this.
Yeah, he is. He's
He's
really
good in the
this.
Lost Boys. He
Yep.
had a great 80s run
Yeah.
for an adolescent actor. It's
Yep.
crazy.
He's an interesting character and an interesting performer in pretty much all of his movies because of that. Like that weird like darkness mixed with like complete innocence and like complete
Like he's
unaware.
so confidence.
Yeah.
He's very confident in himself.
Delusionally confident.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, when that scene that you brought up with the junkyard guy kind of bullying a child and you know, letting it known to us as a viewer that not only is, you know, Teddy's dad abusing him, but he's like you said, the town laughing stock. Everybody knows he's this. Everybody knows he's that. And yeah, that weird like, I hate my dad, but yet my dad's a war hero, and I respect that. That's a very unique thing that they don't like fully explore. They don't like go too deep into it, but what you do see feels very real. And Feldman, you know, he's a very emotional actor. He feels like a very impulsive actor. Like it feels like some of these reactions and some of his screaming fits are just like completely not improvised. It's like it feels like it's not even in his control. You know, he feels like a very just erratic.
Impulsive is a good word.
Yeah, and another very sad story with him and all the abuse he faced, and I don't know if he was abused before this movie or after. Or, you know, it's just another sad story. There's a couple of those in this movie, and now that Rob has passed, it like adds one to it. And but yeah, again, Feldman was just is such an interesting guy and such an interesting child performer. And like you said, his run, you can't really say much about it.
Probably missing some, just recounting off the top of my head. I mean, he was so important to 80s like family / kids movies.
Yep.
You know, like,
and then moving into that adolescent space, like people who like grew up with him in that age, they actually got to like grow up with him as he like moved into the Lost Boys and then moved on to obscurity. But
when he became like an actual star, when he was a later teenager, that's where it kind of went downhill. When he was in that sweet spot of like 12 to 16 or 17, he was really like on his own little golden run, like I said with Reiner, and it's impressive and it's fun to look back.
It is,
even with the current, you know, arc of his career.
Yeah, the current,
which is unfortunate.
But yeah, he seems to be doing a little better, and every once in a while I pop in on him, see how Corey's doing. The last kid is Will Wheaton, who, I don't know if I've seen any other child performance from Will Wheaton. I don't know what other movies he was in as a child, but
yeah,
he's a pretty effective lead here, and you know, his character is going through a lot at home. His older brother, played by John Cusack in flashbacks, and really good flashback sequences, some of the warmest in the movie. Especially with, like, I don't know, the Yankee hat scene always.
Talk about warm. The lighting is also so warm in that scene. Like, it's almost like a dream sequence.
It is. And like they use diffusion on the light, so it's like super soft. And like you said, dreamy and soft, and the lighting is super like
nostalgic feeling. Yeah.
And it's even a little more grainy than the other scenes. Like it's just there's a lot going on there visually. But those sequences with Gordy?
Yes.
And his brother's name is
Denny.
Yeah.
It's Denny.
Those are some of my highlights for the Will Wheaton storyline in the movie. His older brother was like the golden child, and he passed away in a car accident, and Will Wheaton's Gordy's parents aren't really able to. They haven't grieved properly yet, and they're kind of leaving Gordy out to dry, and the movie makes it very clear that Gordy's dad doesn't really care for him as much. And those are kind of like the driving factors for this character. Not necessarily to like even prove anything to his parents, but like he seems to want to make his dead brother proud. You know,
Like, I'll never be able to be the football star that my brother was. Like, I'll never do anything as good as my brother was at football.
Yeah.
Or like in going into life, going into college.
That's how he
his mom
feels.
references his girlfriend.
Yep.
Like, are you going to see this person after the game? And so there's a lot of stuff going for Denny. And with Gordy, he's stuck. Also, it's funny to look at that character and go, man, you haven't even really started your life yet.
Yeah.
Like, you think you need to have it all figured out at like
He's just a
12
kid,
or
yeah.
13. And that's kind of the funny thing with kids at that age. You know, they do feel like they have to have it. Some of them have to have it figured out right then, or that these friends are going to last forever. But these kids, especially Gordy and Chris, are very mature for their ages in terms of being very emotionally intelligent and observant.
Yeah.
You know, Gordy can see. It's also very aware to us as an audience that like his dad does not care for him, and his mom is kind of stuck in a state of limbo. But also what Gordy has to go through is during different sects of the movie, he has to deal with hearing about his brother from the townspeople or from the bullies at the end. And he has to kind of relive that trauma and grief until it eventually kind of comes to a fold towards the end of the movie when he has the gun and is pointing at Kiefer Sutherland's character and is maybe about to kill him.
Yeah, I think the movie, I assume that
he probably would.
And I also assume that Kiefer Sutherland would, like his ace, that ace is ready to actually hurt River Phoenix's character. I don't know about kill him, but maybe he
was about to go.
The stakes feel very real at the end.
He was about to go to Chris with the knife until Gordy shoots the gun.
Yeah. It feels like that definitely feels like a moment where Gordy kind of like regains a little some sense of control over like his emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also, you know, interesting that Danny, that he's like very much supportive of the writing, and he's trying to like show off the writing to his family on his younger brother's behalf. Like, you know, he wrote a story. Did you guys read his story? And even when the brother was alive, he was always an afterthought.
Right.
And that definitely informs the performance and informs the character. But again, the Cusack scenes are just a real highlight. They really, he's probably only in it for like 2 or 3 minutes. It feels like,
if that,
you know. But it's definitely one of those less is more type of roles, and it really works. And I'm always upset that he never gets his Yankee cap back.
Yeah, no, never does.
That I remember when I first saw that movie. I'm like, at the end of that movie, he's gonna get that hat back. This is like foreshadowing. He's gonna stand up to the bully and get that hat back. I was always upset he never got that Yankee hat back.
You know, it's funny that you say that. I don't know why. I probably conflate it with the beginning of the movie when he has the gun behind the diner and shoots it because he has the hat on then. I'm like, he shoots the gun at the end or has the gun with the hat on his head. No, he does not.
No.
Nope. I conflate that with the first sequence.
Yeah. This kind of like if you ask people from like our mom's generation, this was like the premier coming of age story of that time.
It has to be.
That and the Goonies, it feels like.
We're probably missing some, but in
this
terms
is
of
like
like
the most,
tentpole commercial, everyone saw it. Yeah.
Yep. And like you said, this movie has stood the test of time, and it is only going to continue to grow, it feels like. But I also want to just do a quick segue on Kiefer Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good in this as like the big bad, which is just like a high school senior with a gang who like chain smoke and drive around and hit mailboxes and carve
like makeshift tattoos,
cobra tattoos into their arms.
He's super cool.
He's a super cool dude. But this was the first time I ever saw him in anything, and he always kind of sticks out. He really works in this movie. He's not in it very much.
He chews scenery.
But he's just,
Him as a performer when he was in his like late teens, going into his early 20s, he just has a look on his face.
He does look evil.
He just looks like, the
like a really
embodiment
bad guy.
of evil.
Like a really bad guy.
And he has such a presence about him. Ironically, a little bit different from his dad. Like, I think his dad projected more warmth. Kiefer projected more like evil and like, I want to stay away from this guy.
Yeah.
And very charismatic.
Yep.
Despite how truly awful he is.
He has a gang of like 7 or 8 guys who hang on his every word.
Yep.
And will do anything that he tells them to for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
If they have any type of opinion that he doesn't agree with and he lets them know about it, they switch up right away. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he has a very intimidating presence in the movie. And the final scene
So
is
good.
really, really good. And
It's so good.
it really informs the whole movie. As the movie gets to that point, I'm like, oh, I can't wait. We're almost there. We're almost to
It's
like
my favorite sequence of the movie, the
it's
final
yeah,
confrontation between the two gangs of
yeah.
the young kids and then the actual gang.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Cobras.
Yeah, whatever. The greasers.
The greasers. They're all wearing white and the same color jeans and the same black shoes. They're,
The slick back hair.
yes. The funny thing about like those groups, they're always about like independence and like
Anti-establishment.
but then they all conform like
To an establishment of their own.
Yeah. Exactly. The same thing with like bikers.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're all anti-establishment, but then they create their own establishment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just funny that people of that type of phenotype fall into that so easily.
One thing off of that is I was thinking about after watching the movie again. It really is impressive how Reiner balances the nostalgia for that time. And I'm sure he grew up I'm pretty sure just thinking about how old he was, he grew up in the 50s in some way or form. But he balances that with like the dark, seedy underbelly of that time, and also like the emotions that those kids felt at the time. You look at that time in America's history, like very cookie cutter, very idealistic, squeaky clean reputations from the families, and and then he inserts all of this like language and harsh feeling and emotional trauma and baggage, and like these kids feel the same no matter what decade you're going to be in.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like those feelings are universal and they transcend generations, which is a really important, it's probably the most important backbone of this movie in a way. Despite this movie coming out in 86, you go back to the 50s. And of course it is a nostalgic time, and he inserts all the classic songs and looks of the era.
Yeah.
And the movie looks beautiful. And it's shot beautifully, very respectfully, and it's really interesting to see him balance those two sides to that coin.
No, I agree. He, like you said, he definitely has a love for that time, and the musical choices are really unique and really cool. The lollipop needle drop is great. I always think that is probably my favorite in the movie. It always sticks out to me as you cut to the kids dancing along the train tracks. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, that really interesting balance of the wholesome era mixed with like the reality that all these kids are going through, the way they talk to each other and the way they talk about each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's very indicative of like how kids are and how boys are when they're alone. And like this is do you know who shot this movie?
No, I don't. Do you?
No.
Oh, okay. Keep talking.
Just like, some of these shots, most of them are just transition shots of the group walking alongside like a mountain or alongside a lake, and they're just beautifully naturally lit little moments that don't really mean much, but they end up adding up into like a really visually appealing moment.
Look at the first one.
Yeah, okay, there it is.
The same cinematographer shot The Breakfast Club, The Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, that's all I care
Look Who's
about.
Talking, The Running Man. So a lot of 80s work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's shot beautifully. And one thing about Reiner is he's such a competent filmmaker. Like, he's so good. He's not the most flashy director, and he's not going to infuse like this huge sense of style or flair. Like, no one would call him a no, I'm missing the word. But like what's the word for a director that has like a lot of style attached to him? I can't believe I'm blanking.
I don't know.
Auteur. That's what I was. He's not like an auteur filmmaker. No one would call him that. But in that golden run of his, he was so competent he just knew where to put the camera, how to work with actors, how to establish a sense of tone. You know, he was so smart. I don't know. He's such a smart filmmaker who just knew how to get it done, and he did it economically.
Yeah. And I don't know. What's your favorite movie of his?
Either A Few Good Men or When Harry Met Sally.
For
What about
me,
you?
probably this or When Harry Met Sally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd have to. I didn't. I really do have to go back and dive through a few of them again. But I like you had touched on in the beginning. He made a lot of stuff past that golden age that I've
Mm-hmm.
never even
No.
given a shot at, and I probably won't be giving a shot to the one that's about his son.
Yeah,
With
Being Charlie,
with
Nick Robinson. It's
is
called
that?
It's called Being
I
Charlie.
was trying to think if it's Nick Robinson. That
Mm-hmm.
must have been one of his first roles. He must have been very young when he made that.
Probably was.
But
One we didn't mention, The American President.
I haven't seen that.
Really good.
Is it?
I watched it a couple of years ago, and that's another great in a long line of awesome films. Yeah. It is.
What what do you think at the end of the day, like the message of this movie is? It's very much about like friendship, and but if anything, it's almost like friendship doesn't last. That seems to be like
It's kind of
it's
just
a very not
right.
dark, but very like live in the moment now because you never know when these people
Yes.
aren't going to be your friends or are going to be dead or are going to move across the world or it's very much like a stay present, but also
Yeah.
like this movie ends with two of the characters like we never really see them, never saw them after this, and we kind of went our own ways, and then another character dies, and it's a very like the narration is very kind of heavy handed at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you say like the message of Stand By Me is?
I think you kind of hit it the nail on the head. Kind of just grappling with moving on in your life while also being at peace with looking at the past and like looking back fondly on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like that balancing act is probably what drove Gordy's success, you know, as an author or whatever. The Richard Dreyfuss version of the character is going through, you know, with his family. Like he is sitting down and in the very beginning of the movie, he is sitting in his car and reading the newspaper clipping that Chris was fatally stabbed, River Phoenix's character, and you can you see him sitting there pondering, and then seeing these two kids kind of go by on their bikes, and that's kind of like the thesis statement of the movie.
Yeah,
but literally, like while I'm going to be sitting in the present, I can still look to the past and look fondly on it and remember what those relationships meant to me.
Yep. The movie is also. I think it says, they hadn't seen each other in 10 years, but that these two characters did keep in contact and that they kind of like pushed each other. This whole movie, River Phoenix is giving Will Wheaton's character little pep talks about how, you need to do this, you need to do that, you got to stop hanging out with these people, start getting ready for your college classes. And then at the end of the whole movie, Will Wheaton is also telling him, you're smart enough to do those too. And at the end of the movie, the narration makes it known that like both these guys kind of pushed each other and stayed in each other's orbit as long as they could, and that they both did make something out of themselves. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other two characters either ended up staying in that town forever, doing odd jobs, or no, it says Vern is like a guy at the lumber yard.
He operates the forklift, and then it says Teddy
does
in and out of prison and did odd jobs around Castle Rock.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it's not as like telling, but like, a secondary message of this is like these two characters are pushing each other the whole movie, and they're like, if you want that, you can go do it. And every time the other character has like a moment of self-doubt, their friend is like, shut up, dude, you can do it. We're not even gonna go down that road. And that's a very like beautiful thing too, like that, if you have a real friend, like that's what friendship is, and pushing each other to do better and be better. And the film doesn't explicitly state it, but like that's the whole relationship between Gordy and Chris. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I want better for you. I know that your dad doesn't like you. I know that your dad does this to you. Blah blah blah. They keep having these conversations, but like at the end of the day, what are we gonna do about it? Let's just keep moving forward and we're going to do these college courses and we're going to get out of this little town.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a beautiful part of the movie is the friendship between those two feels more lived in than the whole group friendship. And that's why some of those scenes where it is just Wheaton and Phoenix are some of the best in the movie, whether it be just them chatting about life or having these emotional breakdowns with each other that kind of highlight everything. Like we we hinted at it, but River Phoenix's breakdown where he talks about the
milk
milk
money.
lady, but then also running into like everything with his father. That's probably the most impressive scene in the movie to me. Just like that performance. It actually does feel like River is just like crying on camera, whereas the other kids, it's like okay, they're acting right now.
And they cut back. They show him crying, but then they cut back and there's tears coming out. I'm like, okay, I see the cut. Like, obviously, Will Wheaton needed more help in that department, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
It just speaks to how massively talented River was.
Oh yeah,
and no one, and rarely any kids match that.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's like spitting and he's like stuff is flying out. Like it's really, it's almost hard to watch. It's like because
you feel like you're watching a kid cry.
I think you are.
Yeah,
I really do. That young man just went through so much, and it just informs so much. But at the end of the day, this movie, I would imagine most people have seen this. It's like a cable classic. It was always on TBS for some reason. They had the rights to this for forever. TBS. It was like their Stand By Me was like their cornerstone. It felt like. But if you haven't seen this movie, there's really no better time. It's almost more timely than ever, especially with Rob's passing, and it's just I think it's a perfect movie. I really do think it's a 5 out of 5 for me. If maybe a 4 point. It might I don't know. It's a 9 or a 10 for me.
The thing is that it may not be like the best movie out there, but it's so perfectly structured.
No.
It's almost like
and it Reiner at such a pace.
Reiner created the blueprint, or at least expounded on the blueprint from how to create just a seminal coming of age story.
Yep.
This is on the Mount Rushmore of coming of age stories. It has to be. And I really hope, I will show it to my kids whenever they come of age to watch it. And I want it to be passed down from generation to generation. It really is, even though the emotions and things the kids go through, they're stuck somewhat in time,
The themes are timeless, though.
But the themes are timeless, right? Like obviously you may not have like a dad who is like a war vet who's going crazy and abusing you or whatever. Like you're having your brother died and your parents can't get over it. Anyways, yes, like you said, the themes are timeless, and I think it's important for kids to recognize their emotions and realize how to deal with it in some constructive way.
Yep.
And this probably is one of his more personal movies, probably.
For sure.
You can feel his voice come through, because Rob was kind of this like gentle giant type. He was super warm, very lovable. Like you look at what people are saying about him, all of his peers right now, they all loved the guy to death.
Yep.
And they all had such great relationships with him, and they had a rapport that lasted decades, and it's so impressive and truly sad. And I'm really happy though that this movie lives on.
In all of his movies, they're all gonna get a big second life for a little bit, and hopefully for a long time. I do think this movie will continue. I think of all his movies, this might not be his best, but it'll be the one that is seen the most. Because kids are gonna watch this. Kids aren't gonna watch when Harry.
Besides The Princess Bride. Princess Bride's up there. It's for adolescent.
Yeah, actually, I think it's
Princess Bride, and Princess Bride has probably been seen more than Stand By Me.
It's crazy how.
That just speaks though his 80s and his.
And I love
his
that
run.
movie. I do too. I think that's a perfect movie too. I don't think I would change anything about The Princess Bride. It's another one that we can cover at some time. I mean, we could do his whole filmography. I definitely want to do Spinal Tap down the line. I haven't watched that in years. I definitely want to do A Few Good Men.
Amazing movie.
I haven't watched that.
It's so good
in years.
It's probably his best movie.
Yeah,
but
I gotta rewatch that.
I have
been
a
such a long
big
time.
Soft spot for When Harry Met Sally. even though
And I
it's an
love
amazing
that.
movie
I
on its
love
own.
that movie. Yeah,
Right.
dude. He just, again, like you've said it 15 times. We'll make it 16. That run was just, it's almost unheard of,
Hmm.
and it really should be cherished and appreciated. And it, I still think Rob had some cool stuff down the pipeline. And even though he won't be making anything, you hope that his work has inspired the next Rob Reiner, or that this tragedy has inspired people to be like, oh man, like if he could do it, I can do it. You just hope that somehow his sensibilities and his craft lives on through somebody or through something, because it really is a big loss to not just American cinema but worldwide. He this was world news for a reason. He was beloved, and his work was beloved, and you know when you're a gentle giant, nobody sees this type of end coming. So it's especially tragic. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with the Reiner family and everybody else who was affected by this. But again, if you haven't seen this movie or any of Reiner's movies, or if you've just seen The Princess Bride, or if you've just seen one, or if you've just seen When Harry Met Sally, because I'm sure there's a lot of people a couple years older than us, that's the only one they saw.
Hmm.
Just go on his IMDb or go on his Wikipedia,
His filmography is hard to avoid.
and
Mhm.
give some of his work a shot. Thankfully, with streaming right now, his work is kind of everywhere.
Mhm.
HBO has a couple of his movies. Netflix has a couple of his movies. They're out there, and they're worth being seen now more than ever. But anything else you want to say?
No, other than, I'll really miss him in movies and behind the camera.
Yep,
I'll put it like that.
yep.
Simple.
Eh, I was really looking forward to seeing, because it seemed like he was getting more into acting.
Hmm.
Not more into acting, but he was having a fun time doing like these little roles. And I love the bear, and his character was really important in the bear, moving forward. So it really is sad. And I love some of the little, again, I brought up Wolf of Wall Street
He
earlier.
is so good in
He's
Wolf of
so
Wall
good,
Street.
Wolf of Wall Street.
It's perfect.
He is perfectly cast, and
One.
he's just so, even though he's a curmudgeon in that movie, there's still like, it's like he can't help but exude warmth. You still want to like love that guy, because he's the only voice of reason in that company. You know what I
It's
mean?
always funny to see directors cast each other in roles, because
Mhm.
obviously Scorsese saw
He
Reiner and
knew,
he's like,
yeah.
this guy is perfect. I mean, he's the complete opposite of what Reiner is in real life.
Yep.
He's these lovable goof who is adored by many people, and then he just like this hard nosed, really mean
Like
and
stickler,
angry,
yeah.
like always swearing, always just a kind of a gross guy.
Who's
And
got the gall to call this house on Friday night?
it's perfect. It's just perfect casting, and that's a role that certainly will live on.
Mhm.
A lot of people have seen Wolf, and it's a
Yep.
great movie. And yeah, I agree with you. I think that he had some more performances to give that would be great, and it's so unfortunate.
It is. But like we talked about with this movie, you got to stay in the present, and all you can do is look back and appreciate what he did, and hope that the next Rob Reiner comes down the pipeline, or that his work continues to live on, as I think it will.
Hmm.
But yeah, kind of a different episode today. We wanted to get this out a while ago. It's just different with the holidays.
We had to do Jingle All the Way.
I had to do Jingle All the Way.
We could not do.
I couldn't comment on Rob Reiner until I had time
Yeah.
to watch Jingle All the Way a few times to really get my mind in a good space. But Happy New Year, and I don't know what we're doing next, but we're doing it.
Mhm.
So thank you for watching.